And what if I told you that the biggest obstacle between you and wealth is not the economy, not the lack of opportunities, and not even your financial education? And what if I proved to you, in the next few minutes, that there's an invisible program running in your brain that literally sabotages your chances of thriving, and that psychologists and neuroscientists have finally discovered exactly how this works and, more importantly, how you can reprogram it? Stick with me because what you're about to discover here could completely transform your relationship with money. Welcome to the video. Rich mind, your brain is programmed to keep you poor. Psychologists finally explain why. I'm your name, and today we're diving deep into an uncomfortable truth. Your brain was not designed to make you rich. Actually, it was designed for the exact opposite. And no, this isn't conspiracy theory or empty motivational talk. This is proven science, with studies from universities like Stanford, Harvard, and behavioral neuroscience research that's revolutionizing how we understand the psychology of money. In the next few minutes, you're going to understand the exact brain mechanisms that keep millions of people trapped in patterns of scarcity. You'll discover the invisible beliefs that control your financial decisions without you even realizing it. And most importantly, you'll learn the step-by-step scientific approach to reprogram your mind and finally break this cycle. And before you think, oh, another video about mindset, just wait until you see the studies I'm going to show you. This goes way beyond positive thinking. We're talking about neuroplasticity, behavioral psychology, and behavioral economics applied. Now let me ask you something. Have you ever felt like no matter how hard you work, money just doesn't stick around in your life? You get a little extra money and mysteriously an unexpected expense comes up? Or you finally save some cash and, without really understanding why, you end up spending it on things you didn't really need that much anyway? You're not alone. And here's the part that will surprise you. This isn't about lack of discipline. It's your brain working exactly how it was programmed to work. You see, the human brain evolved over millions of years with one primary objective: survival. Not prosperity, not abundance, survival. Our ancestors lived in environments of real scarcity. Food was limited, resources were limited, danger was constant, so the brain developed extremely powerful protection mechanisms that kept us alive. Fear of the unknown, risk aversion, preference for the familiar, and an obsession with immediate security. And here's the problem. Those same mechanisms that saved lives 50,000 years ago are now sabotaging your bank account. Your brain doesn't distinguish between the real threat of a predator and the perceived threat of investing money or stepping outside your financial comfort zone. For it, change equals danger, risk equals death. And security, even if it's mediocre security, is always the preferred choice. Psychologist Carol Dweck from Stanford discovered something revolutionary. Our beliefs about ourselves, especially the ones we acquired in childhood, function like operating systems of the brain. And most people are running a scarcity operating system without even knowing it. Think about it. How many times did you hear phrases like this growing up? Money doesn't grow on trees. Only the rich get richer. You have to work hard for money. Money is the root of all evil. Each of those phrases is a line of code being installed in your mental operating system. And there's more. A study from Princeton University showed that when a person is under financial pressure, their cognitive ability decreases by up to 13 IQ points. You read that right. Simply worrying about money literally makes you dumber at making decisions. It's like trying to win a race with the parking brake on. And the cruelest part? The more you need money, the less capable your brain becomes at making the right decisions to get that money. It's a vicious cycle that science is only now beginning to fully understand. Now let's get to the heart of the matter. How exactly is your brain programmed to keep you poor? There are 5 major psychological mechanisms that work against you, and I'm going to explain each one with surgical precision. Mechanism 1. The negativity bias and loss aversion. Daniel Kahneman, a Nobel Prize winner in economics, spent decades studying how we make decisions. And he discovered something terrifying. Our brain feels the pain of loss with an intensity 2 times greater than the pleasure of an equivalent gain. This is called loss aversion. In other words, losing $100 hurts twice as much as the joy of earning $100. This means that unconsciously, you're always more focused on not losing than on winning. You avoid investments because you're afraid of losing, even if mathematically the probability of gain is higher. You stay in that mediocre job because you're afraid of losing the security, even though another opportunity might pay you double. Your brain is constantly calculating, what can I lose? instead of what can I gain. Let me give you a practical example. Researchers offered a group of people two options. Option A, earn $500 guaranteed. Option B, 50% chance to earn $1,000 and 50% chance to earn nothing. Mathematically, both options have the same expected value of $500, but 80% of people chose option A. Why? Loss aversion. The brain prefers mediocre security to the possibility of loss, even when the potential gain is higher. And here's the cruelest part. This mechanism keeps you exactly where you are. Because every significant change in financial life involves some level of risk. Leaving your job to start a business, investing in expensive education, moving to another city for an opportunity. Your brain sees all of this as potential loss and sets off all the danger alarms. Mechanism 2. The Dunning-Kruger effect and the illusion of knowledge here enters one of the most fascinating and dangerous phenomena in psychology. The Dunning-Kruger effect shows that people with little knowledge about a subject tend to dramatically overestimate their competence. That is, the less you know about money, the more you think you know enough. This explains why people with zero financial education make terrible investments with total confidence, why they believe promises of easy gains, why they don't seek to learn because they think they already know. Your brain is deceiving you, telling itself, you know this, you understand it, when actually you're flying blind. And there's a second side to this, confirmation bias. Your brain automatically searches for information that confirms what you already believe and ignores contradictory evidence. If you believe that investing is dangerous, your brain will focus on every news story of someone who lost money and will completely ignore the millions who built wealth through investing. You live in a bubble confirming your own limiting beliefs. Mechanism 3. The reward and gratification. System neuroscientist Robert Sapolsky from Stanford explains that our brain has two decision-making systems. The limbic system, primitive and emotional, which seeks immediate pleasure, and the prefrontal cortex, rational and planning-oriented, which thinks about the long term. The problem? The limbic system is much more powerful and much faster. When you see that offer, only today, 50% off, the limbic system floods your brain with dopamine. You feel an almost physical urgency to buy. The prefrontal cortex tries to intervene, saying, wait, you don't need this, you're saving for something else. But it's much weaker. That's why you buy. And the worst part, the consumer industry understands this better than you do. Every advertisement, every flash sale, every interest-free installment is strategically designed to hijack your limbic system and deactivate your prefrontal cortex. They're literally hacking your brain to make you spend. A study from MIT showed that when we pay with a credit card instead of physical cash, the psychological pain of the purchase decreases by 30%. Why? Because physical money activates brain regions associated with loss and pain. A card is abstract, it doesn't hurt. And that's exactly why companies want you to use a card. You spend more when you don't feel the real pain of loss. Mechanism 4. The social comparison. Trapped psychologist Sonia Lubomirsky discovered that up to 40% of our happiness is determined by social comparison. But here's the trap. Our brain compares in an extremely distorted way. You compare your backstage with other people's stage. You see your neighbor's new car, your friend's vacation on Instagram, your coworker's success, and your brain automatically concludes, you're falling behind. This generates two destructive financial reactions. First, status consumption. You buy things you can't afford to look successful, to not feel inferior. Second, demotivation and self-sabotage. You think if everyone is better off than me, what's the point of trying? And you give up before you even start. And here's the shocking data. A Harvard Business School study showed that people would rather earn $50,000 living in a community where the average is $25,000 than earn $100,000 in a community where the average is $200,000. You read that right. People literally prefer to be poorer if it means being above the group average. Your brain values relative status above absolute wealth. That's brutal unconscious sabotage. Mechanism 5. The self-fulfilling prophecy and locus of control. Here enters the most devastating mechanism of all. Psychologist Julian Rotter developed the concept of locus of control. People with external locus of control believe their lives are controlled by external forces. Luck, fate, other people, the economy. People with internal locus of control believe they have power over their results through their actions. And here's the scary data. Studies show that more than 70% of people with financial difficulties have predominantly external locus of control. They believe they're victims of circumstance. And when you believe that, you stop acting. Why? Because if the problem is outside your control, why make an effort? This becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You believe you don't have control, so you don't act. Because you don't act, nothing changes. And then you use that as evidence that you really didn't have control. It's an infinite loop of learned helplessness. Psychologist Martin Seligman showed that when animals are repeatedly exposed to situations they cannot control, they develop learned helplessness. They stop trying even when the situation changes, and they could escape. Many people live in learned financial helplessness. Now that you understand the mechanisms, let's identify the specific beliefs that are locking your financial life. Pay attention because you'll recognize yourself in several of them. And that recognition is the first step toward change. Limiting belief. 1. Money doesn't bring happiness. This is perhaps the most widespread and hypocritical belief in our society. And the scientific truth? A massive study from Princeton University with more than 450,000 Americans showed that money does increase happiness up to a certain point. Specifically, up to approximately $75,000 annually. Each income increase significantly increases emotional well-being. Why? Because money eliminates financial stress, offers security, enables enriching experiences, gives access to better health and education. Money doesn't buy happiness directly, but it buys the absence of suffering caused by scarcity, and that's immensely valuable. The problem with this belief is that it functions as an unconscious justification for not seeking prosperity. Anyway, money doesn't bring happiness, so it's fine if I stay where I am. It's a psychological defense against fear of failure. Better not to try and say you didn't want it, than to try and fail. Limiting belief 2. You have to work hard to make money. This belief comes directly from the industrial era, when work literally meant trading time and physical effort for a salary. But we're in 2025. Most large fortunes today don't come from hard work. They come from smart work, systems, assets, leverage. When you believe that only hard work generates money, you automatically limit your potential to the number of hours you can work. And that's a very low ceiling. You're never going to get rich selling your time. You only get rich when your money, your systems, your assets work for you. This belief also creates unconscious guilt around easy money or passive income. If I'm not suffering, I don't deserve to earn. This is inherited programming you need to delete. Limiting belief. 3. I'm not good with money. This is the most dangerous belief because it disguises itself as self-knowledge. Oh, I'm creative, I'm not into numbers, I'm not good with money. No, you weren't born bad with money. You simply never learned, and your brain transformed that lack of learning into a fixed identity. Neuroscientist Carol Dweck calls this fixed mindset versus growth mindset. Fixed mindset says, I'm like this. Growth mindset says, I don't know yet, but I can learn. When you say, I'm not good with money, you close the door on learning. You create a self-fulfilling prophecy where you avoid dealing with money because it's not your thing, and by avoiding it, you never develop the skill, confirming the belief. The truth? Financial education is a skill like any other. You can learn, but first you need to believe you can learn. Limiting belief 4. Rich people are born rich. I don't have the right conditions. This is the external locus of control belief I mentioned before. And the statistical reality? A Fidelity Investment survey from 2021 showed that 88% of American millionaires are self-made, first-generation wealth. They didn't inherit, they built it. Sure, privilege exists. Sure, some people start with advantages, but using that as an excuse not to try is literally choosing poverty. You don't control where you were born, but you control what you do with the cards you were dealt. This belief is comfortable because it takes away your responsibility. It's not my fault, it's the system. Maybe it is. But while you're justifying, other people with the same or worse conditions are acting and changing their lives. Limiting belief 5. Saving or investing. Small amounts doesn't make a difference. Oh, there's no point saving $50 a month. That won't change anything. This belief completely ignores the concept of compound interest and the power of habit. Let me give you a brutal mathematical example. If you invest $200 a month at a conservative rate of 8% annually, which is less than the historical stock market average, in 30 years you'll have over $300,000. If you start with $500 a month, it goes over $750,000. That's comfortable retirement. It's a house down payment, it's freedom. But the belief small amounts don't matter prevents you from starting. And because you don't start, you have no results. And the absence of results confirms the belief. It's another vicious loop. Now here's the part you've been waiting for. How do you reprogram this mind? How do you break these patterns? Here are strategies based on neuroscience and behavioral psychology, not empty motivational talk. Strategy 1. Beliefs. Audit and narrative rewriting. First step, you need to make the invisible visible. Grab a piece of paper, literally, and write down all the phrases about money you heard as a child. All of them. From the most obvious to the most subtle. Money is dirty. Rich people are dishonest. We have to be content with little. That's not for people like us. Now, next to each limiting belief, you're going to write evidence-based counter-evidence. For example, belief. Rich people are dishonest. Counter-evidence. There are millions of wealthy people who built their wealth through genuine value. Dishonesty exists at all social levels. It's not exclusive to wealth. You won't immediately believe the new narrative. Your brain will resist. But here's the secret of neuroplasticity. Repetition creates new neural connections. Each time you consciously challenge a limiting belief, you weaken that neural pathway and strengthen a new one. You're literally rewriting the code of your mental operating system. Strategy 2. Gradual exposure and desensitization. Remember the concept of risk aversion? The way to overcome it isn't by diving in headfirst. It's through gradual exposure. You need to train your brain to feel comfortable with financial discomfort. Start small. Invest $50 in an investment fund. The amount doesn't matter. The action does. You're telling your brain, see? We took a risk, we invested, and the world didn't end. Then increase to 100. Then 200. Each small exposure desensitizes your alarm system. Same principle for entrepreneurship. You don't need to quit your job tomorrow. Start a side project. Sell something small. Provide a service. Each small entrepreneurial action trains your brain to see opportunity where it previously saw only risk. Behavioral psychology calls this exposure hierarchy. You build confidence through small and consistent successes. Strategy 3. Choice architecture and environmental design. Behavioral economist Richard Thaler won the Nobel Prize, showing that small changes in the choice environment can generate big changes in behavior. Applying this to finances, change the architecture of your financial choices. Practical examples. Set up automatic transfers on payday to investments. Why? Because you remove the need to decide. The decision was already made. Your brain doesn't get a chance to self-sabotage. Delete delivery and shopping apps from your phone. Add friction to impulsive consumption. Want to buy something? You'll have to open the browser, log in, enter your password. Each additional step gives your prefrontal cortex time to break the limbic system. Change your social media feed. Stop following consumer influencers. Start following people talking about investments, financial education, entrepreneurship. You're literally programming the algorithm to reprogram you differently. Strategy 4. Strategic mental accounting psychologist Richard Thaler also discovered that we practice mental accounting. We treat money differently depending on where it came from. Salary money is serious. Bonus money is spendable. And you can hack this to your advantage. Create separate mental and physical accounts with emotional purposes. A freedom account for investments. A knowledge account for courses and books. A experiences account for travel and memories. When you give money emotional identity, you increase the pain of spending it on the wrong things. Another hack. Calculate purchases in hours of life. That $600 sneaker costs how many hours of your work? 20 hours. Would you give 20 hours of your life for those sneakers? This mental reframing activates different brain circuits and makes you think twice. Strategy 5. Community and social accountability. One of the most powerful studies on behavioral change comes from Harvard. People with social accountability, with someone checking their progress, have 95% more chance of reaching their goals than people trying alone. Find a group of people on the same journey. It can be in person or online. What matters is that you have people to share progress with, challenges, learnings. Your brain is social. When your group values financial education and growth, you automatically start valuing it too. It's social pressure in your favor. And here's a powerful trick. Declare your goals publicly. Your brain hates cognitive dissonance between what you say and what you do. When you declare, "I'm going to invest $500 a month," you create internal pressure to act in line with that public identity. Strategy 6. Visualization. Practice based on evidence. Be careful, because visualization became a motivational cliché. But there's real science behind it when done correctly. Neuroscientist Andrew Huberman explains that the brain doesn't completely distinguish between real experience and vividly imagined experience. Both activate similar neural circuits. But here's the trick. Don't just visualize the end result. You're rich, in a mansion, driving a Ferrari. That can actually be counterproductive because it creates premature satisfaction. Visualize the process. Visualize yourself waking up early to study. You resisting the impulse buy. You checking your investments. You having the difficult conversation to ask for a raise. When you visualize the process, you're literally rehearsing neurologically the behaviors that will take you to the result. It's mental training like Olympic athletes do. So let's recap what we discovered today. Your brain isn't your enemy, but it also wasn't designed to make you rich. It was designed to keep you safe. And safety often means mediocrity. You have loss aversion 2 times stronger than attraction to gain. You overestimate your knowledge about money when you know little. Your limbic system hijacks your financial decisions. You compare your reality with other people's fantasy. And you might be living in learned financial helplessness, believing you don't have control when actually you do. But here's the liberating truth. Neuroplasticity is real. You can reprogram your brain. Each conscious action against a limiting pattern weakens that neural connection and creates a new one. You don't need an overnight revolution. You need consistent evolution. Small actions, repeated daily, accumulate into massive transformation. Start by identifying your limiting beliefs. Challenge them with real evidence. Create gradual exposure to small financial risks. Redesign your environment to facilitate right choices. Use mental accounting to your advantage. Find a growth community. And visualize the process, not just the result. And look, I know it might seem like a lot. I know there's a ton of stuff to change, but you don't need to do everything at once. Choose one strategy, just one. Implement it this week. When it becomes a habit, add another. Improve 1% per week. In a year, you're 50% different. In 5 years, you're unrecognizable. The biggest lie you were told is that change is quick and easy. The biggest truth nobody tells you is that small and consistent change is absolutely unstoppable. So now I want to know from you, which of these limiting beliefs resonated most with you? Which one did you realize has been holding your financial life back? Leave it in the comments. And if this video opened your eyes to something that was invisible before, hit that like button because it helps the algorithm get this content to more people who need it. And look, if you want to go even deeper in this journey of mental reprogramming and wealth building, I've got a video right here about the 7 financial habits of people who went from middle class to millionaires in less than 10 years. They're practical habits applicable, and they complement everything you learned here. It's right here on the side. Click it and keep that transformation going. And if you're not subscribed to the channel yet, subscribe now and turn on notifications, because every week there's new content about mindset, finances, and personal development based on real science, not empty motivation. Thank you for staying until the end. This is the kind of content I know can really change lives. Not because I'm special, but because you're capable. Your brain might have been programmed to keep you poor, but you just learned the code to reprogram it. Now it's up to you. See you in the next video. Take care and remember, wealth isn't luck, it's repeated conscious choice.